Good day, my name is Bruce. Welcome to Manage Operations and Occupational Health and Safety. You would have received a learner guide and a workbook and a portfolio of evidence from your facilitator. As we go through the three modules, you'll be asked to do class activities in your workbook, and at the very end of the three lessons, you'll be asked to complete your portfolio of evidence. Let's have a look and see which of the different unit standards which is going to be making up this module. These are the two unit standards that you can see. Then moving on to the agenda, these are the three modules that we're going to be covering in this sessions. First one is to implement an action plan for business operations. 2, manage your own time productively. And 3, how to apply health and safety to a work area. So let's kick off today with the very first one, which is to implement an action plan for business operations. These are the module outcomes that we're going to be covering in this module. Firstly, how do we implement an action plan for business operations? 2, mobilize resources for a new venture. 3, monitor productivity in a business venture. And then lastly, implement and manage a basic quality system in a new venture. All right, let's have a look at how do we implement an action plan for business operations. The exercise of putting a business plan together is a helpful one. And by the end of the process, you will have a document that will help you and potential investors think about how promising this venture truly is. Now it's time to implement the action plan for your new venture to ensure that your business operation runs smoothly. A systematic approach at this important beginner stage of a new venture will give you clear guidelines on how to implement them. Also, to take action is to do. Therefore, an action plan is how to do X or Y in order to successfully have operations run smoothly. The business plan parts. The operating section of a business plan is into 2 parts, starting with the stage of development section. In this section, it will describe how your product or service will be made, as well as to identify the problems that may occur in the production process. The second section of the operation plan of the business plan is the production process section. The production process section lays out the details of your business day-to-day operations. How do we draw up an action plan to actually manage the business operations according to the goals set in the business plan? An action plan is basically an opportunity to turn your vision for your business into reality. An action plan will outline the strategies and action steps your business will actually use to meet its goals and objectives. It will also describe the way your business will use the strategies to meet its objectives. An action plan will consist of a number of action steps or changes to be brought about in your business. Outlines and integrate business concept ideas into an action plan. As the entrepreneur, you would need to outline and integrate any business concept ideas into an action plan and compile a task list accordingly. Now, compiling the list is as follows. For each action step or change to be accomplished, you need to list the following with due dates for each. Firstly, what actions or changes will occur and by when? Who will carry it out and by when and for how long? What resources are needed by when? And then the communication, who should know what and by when? And let's consider what are legal issues, safety regulations, any risk factors in the compilation of your action plan. The following are the legalities that will govern business in South Africa, which are to be considered. Firstly, your Labour Relations Act of 66 of 1995, the Basic Conditions of Employment Act 75 of 1997, the Employment Act of 55 of 1998, Skills Development Act 97 of 1998, the Skills Development Levies Act 9 of 1999, the Protected Disclosures Act 26 of 2000, the Constitution of the RSA Act 108 of 1996, as well as the Compensation for Occupational Injuries and Diseases Act number 130 of 1993. Now, assigning roles and responsibilities pertaining to your action plan. Step 1, determine what people should be involved in finding solutions. Step 2, convene a planning group to design your action plan. Step 3, develop an action plan composed of action steps that address all proposed changes. Step 4, review your completed action plan carefully to check for completeness. And step 5, follow up. Please complete class activity 1 in your workbook. 1.2, how do we mobilize resources for a new venture? Identifying the available resources for a new venture would obviously be firstly, what money? And because that's obviously going to be the lifeline of any business. The human resources, the people that's going to obviously be needed to be part of the operation. Premises, whereabouts is your new venture going to actually be placed? Vehicles for delivery, construction, or transportation of people. Machinery for manufacturing or processing. Office equipment like computers, phones, faxes, furniture, etc. that is needed to run the office. Professional services like lawyers, accountants, business consultants. And then contractors, people who would be contracted to do the work not done by the business itself. Now, how do we analyze and prioritize the cost of resources? The cost of each of these resources must be analyzed and prioritized accordingly. Those resources like people, premises, and office equipment without which the business cannot operate will need to be first on this list of priorities, while luxuries like fancy telephone answering system will have to wait until the budget allows for them. Now, evaluating the resources according to the suitable contribution to effective business performance. It is also advisable to seek professional advice from your lawyer, your bookkeeper, and any other professionals to assist you to make the right business decisions. Other valuable resources of advice would include subcontractors or people who you outsource work to. These people normally have vast experience, and by applying what you learn from them, you can also help save you money as well as time. Also, seeking further advice to supplement competencies where relevant. Financial management, obviously you consult an accountant or a bookkeeper. For labor laws, consult a labor consultant or contract an independent HR practitioner. For legislation that protects the rights of the consumer, you would consult a lawyer. For laws that govern the running of a business, you would consult a lawyer or a business consultant. Please complete class activity 2 in your workbook. Monitoring productivity of a business venture. Productivity can be defined as a process of getting more out of what you put in. It's doing better with what you have. Technically, productivity is a measure of how efficient a person or an operation is. It is determined by comparing the value of the output result with the cost of the input resource. The productivity is usually expressed as a ratio or a rate. That is, productivity equals output divided by input. Productivity can be stated as the number of units produced in a certain time period. For example, a factory produces 5 chairs per labor per hour. The chairs are the output, and the labor expended is to produce the chairs is the input. Both the above figures then can be converted to rands. For example, if the value added to each chair by the assembly operation is estimated to be 3 rand each, or a total of 15 rand, and the assembler is paid 5 rand an hour, then the productivity of the assembly operation would be 15 rand divided by 5 rand, or 3:1. Applying appropriate productivity concepts and principles to your own venture. For employees, you would use the following strategies to get your employees buy-in to make sure that productivity stays where you actually need it to be. The first step is to identify what actually motivates your employees. The second step is then to decide on an action. Take the necessary steps to change your organization's policies and attitudes. Step 3, remove any demotivating factors. And step 4, make changes where necessary. If poor motivation is entrenched, you may need to look at the organization's style of management. Controlling of costs. Effective cost control begins with accurate records of costs as they occur. The 2 main requirements of cost controls are records that are accurate, up to date. Controlling costs will mean that you have to keep within certain specified limits. It is important to know what the limits are in order to determine how well you're keeping with them, and of course, if you aren't taking meaningful and timely action. To monitor the productivity of new venture on an ongoing basis. You are the manager, need to be committed to managing productivity in order for productivity to be successful. Your productivity targets should be communicated in order for staff to feel and know that they have something to aim for. Consider introducing staff incentives to keep to targets, but be aware to explain this carefully because quality can be adversely affected by the increased speed of production. The process of control. The productivity of a company is controlled by referring to the objectives and action plans continuously. Control is an ongoing activity. It should be agreed with your employees what control measures will be put in place and how often they will be reviewed. Monitoring. This is an internal process required during operations management to ensure success. Monitoring is essentially about measuring actual progress against objectives and the operational plan, detecting any variances, and then taking any corrective action. Now, taking measures to ensure continuous improvement of productivity. Productivity can be improved by working with inputs and output options. For example, getting slightly less output for much less input, but getting the same output for less input, or getting more output for the same input and by getting slightly less output for much less input. Please read pages 45 to 48 in your learner guide for more information. Now, to implement and manage a basic quality system in a new venture. Quality means that you are delivering something that is satisfying the customer at all times. It is consistent service as well as consistent products that will never fail. Part and parcel of quality management is therefore also ensuring that employees' roles and responsibilities are clear. When an employee knows what responsibilities they have and how to do them without question, an employee's morale will increase, which will also increase customer satisfaction in the process. Explain the quality concepts, systems, and principles. In a manufactured product, the customer, as a user, recognizes the quality of fit, finish, appearance, function, and performance. The quality of service may be rated based on the degree of satisfaction by the customer receiving the service. Quality management systems. A quality management system can be expressed as the organizational structure, procedures, process, and resources which are needed to actually implement quality management. QMS has tended to converge with sustainability and transparency initiatives, as both investor and customer satisfaction and perceived quality is increasingly tied to these factors. The quality management principles. The 8 quality management principles which the quality management system standards of ISO 9000 series are based. These principles can be used by senior management as a framework to actually guide their organizations towards improved performance from ISO quality management principles. And these are the principles. As you can see, we've got leadership, involvement of people, process approach, systems approach to management, continuous improvement, factual approach to decision making, mutually beneficial supplier relationships, as well as customer focus. Now let's explain what the consequences and risks associated with non-compliance with quality procedures. If you do not provide a quality product or service in your business, you'll face using serious consequences and following risks. For example, loss of customers, poor reputation, loss of income, health risks, high staff turnover, fines, and even imprisonment, as well as lastly, possible closure of your business. Now, to draw up and monitor basic quality procedures for your own venture, a good quality policy should be a statement of principles, stating what and not how. Promote consistency throughout the organization as well as across projects. Provide an explanation to outsiders of how the organization views quality. Then provide provisions for changing and updating of the policy. Please complete class activity 3 in your workbook. Thank you.